Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smart Study ACCA. I was making a video for my class students, so I thought that I should maybe share it with everyone. So this is a question called Question Echo Beach, right? And the question is from the business finance portion of the paper Performance Financial Management, right? So it's called Echo Beach Financial Management, or F9 if you wish. Okay, so it's Echo Beach. Now, this is a very good question. It covers theoretical X-right price, it covers gearing ratio, interest coverage, and it also covers when you have a change in the finance. So when a change in the finance occurs, so of course things can get slightly complicated, right? So let's see the requirements first of all. It says calculate the theoretical X-right price. So theoretical X-right price per share and the amount of finance that would be raised under this proposal, right? So you have a proposal, right? The proposal is actually here. And under this proposal, we want to calculate the theoretical X-right price and the amount of the finance that we're going to raise, right? And then it says evaluate and discuss the proposal to use these funds to reduce gearing and financial risk, right? So that means, first of all, evaluate and discuss. So you have to do some calculation, and on the basis of calculation, you are going to say if it is good or bad, right? So what will be the impact of rights issue, right? The proposal is rights issue. 1-for-4 rights issue should be made at 20% discount to the current share price of $2.3 per share, right? So that means that if the current share is $2.3, then 20% discount would mean that your rights issue price will be 2.3 multiplied by 80%, which is $1.84, right? So you have 4 shares at this price and 1 share at this price, right? 1-for-4 rights issue, right? So you can easily calculate theoretical X right price, and then you can easily calculate the amount of finance also, right? Now let's see the question. Statement of profit and loss is given to you. It starts from the PBIT figure, right, which is $12 or $12 million, and then you have interest, $3 million, profit after tax, income tax expenses, dividends, retained earning. Then the balance sheet extract is given to you also, right? Ordinary shares nominal value is 50 cents. So that would mean that 5 million divided by 50 cents or $0.5 will mean 10 million number of shares, right? So these are the current number of shares, 10 million. And if it is 1-for-4 rights issue, then 10 million multiplied by 1/4 will be 2.5 million new shares, right? 2.5 million new shares, right? Or the rights. Now, let's calculate the theoretical X-right price. Oh, yes, a little bit more. Average data of the company is similar to Echo Beach, right? So some information is given to us on industry average. The companies that are similar to our company, Echo Beach. Interest coverage ratio, which is 8 times. Long-term debt to equity ratio on book value basis is 80%, which means that debt is 80% of the equity. And then it says Echo Beach Co considers a proposal to made by the finance director, and the proposal is here, right? So 1-for-4 rights issue at 20% discount, right? Now, let's do this question together. right? So I'll start from here. Question Echo Beach. Now part A was about theoretical X right price. Now the way I would like to do it, I'll simply call it old number of shares, and then you have new number of shares, and the numbers and the price, right? So you have 4 old shares for every 1 new share, or 1 new share for every four old shares. Now, if you add these two together, so the total number of shares in the set will be 5 shares. The price of the old share is $2.3, if I'm not wrong, right? I think it is $2.3. Yes, it is $2.3, right? And the new share will be 20% less than this. Now, if you want, you can actually write 1.84, but I think it will be better if you just multiply 2.3 with 80%. So just multiply it with 0.8. So you'll get 1.84. And now you have to multiply the number with the price. So it will give you 4 multiplied by 2.3. And then 1 multiplied by 1.84, and then you add these two together. So that basically means that the 4 shares will have a total cost of this much, and 1 share will have a total cost of this much. So the overall 5 shares will have a total cost of this much. So that is the total cost for 5 shares. So what is the price per share? Now this is what we call theoretical X-right price. We call it theoretical because this is not the actual X-right price. I mean, the rights are not issued yet, and you want to do the calculation in advance. So you really don't know how the shareholders are going to react and what exactly will be the price, right? So here's your theoretical X-right price. Now, in the same question, the second requirement was the amount of finance, right? The amount of finance. Now, how are you going to calculate the amount of finance? Well, of course, if you multiply the number of rights with the issue price, and the issue price is 1.84, then you can easily find the amount of finance. In your exam, you don't have to write the formulas in wordings. I mean, you can just write your Excel formulas, and that will be more than enough. So students sometimes write the whole formula. You don't have to write like the number of rights multiplied by the issue price. Like for example, if you do it like this, number of rights multiplied by issue price, right? And then you do the calculation. But no, it's not actually required. It will be a wastage of time, so you better not do it, right? But we can actually write the figures. So the number of rights, first of all, we have 10 million old number of shares. Currently we have 5 million divided by 0.5, which is 10 million shares. And the new shares will be 144, right? And we said that will give us 2.5 million rights, right? So 10 million multiplied by 1 by 4. So 2.5 million rights, and then you multiply it with the rights issue price, which is 1.84. So the number of rights multiplied by the price of 1 right will give you 4.6 million, right? 4.6 million. I'm keeping everything in millions. If you don't want, right, you can actually write the whole figures also, right? Yes, but then you have to mention here that everything is in millions, right? Right? So it's 4.6 million. That's actually the amount of the finance that you're going to raise, right? Now, what is the second requirement? The second requirement says evaluate and discuss the proposal to use these funds to reduce gearing and the financial risk. So when we are saying reduce gearing and the financial risk, of course, when equity is going to increase, the gearing is going to decrease, right? And if you have to discuss it also, so it means that we have to actually compare this with the industry average, right? In the industry average is showing that the interest coverage is 8 times and the long-term debt to equity ratio on book value basis is 80%. So we're going to calculate our figures before this finance and after this finance, and then we'll compare it with the industry average, right? So it's gearing and interest coverage. So let's do it. Now, first of all, gearing. We're gearing before rights issue, right? Before rights issue. Now, before rights issue, the debt to equity ratio. Debt finance is 30 million and equity finance is 20 million. Remember, we are doing it on book value basis, so you don't have to calculate the market values. So 30 divided by 20 is the current gearing. Which will give you 150%. When you click the percentage sign, it will give you 150%, right? After rights issue. Right? Now, after rights issue is equity finance. So that means there will be no impact on debt finance. So debt finance will still be 30 million. And the equity finance, which was 20 million, will increase by this figure 4.6. So you can say 20 million plus 4.6. Well, I'll use a bracket for this. So I'll say 20 million plus 4.6. And I'll close that in the bracket. So this will give us 121% or 122%, right, after the rights issue. Now, we can see it clearly. We can see it clearly that before the rights issue, gearing was high, and after the rights issue, the gearing has reduced, right? But we have to comment on this also, that though after the rights issue, the gearing has reduced, but it's still much above the industry average, which is 80%. So we are still a lot more risky as compared to the industry average, 80%, right? So that will be our comment. Now it says gearing and the financial risk. So the other measure that we can see is the interest coverage. So we are going to find the interest coverage before rights issue and after rights issue. So interest cover before rights issue. Formula for interest coverage is PBIT divided by interest. PBIT as per the question is 12 and interest is 3. So it's 4 times. Before the rights issue, it is 4 times, right? So interest cover after, right? Now interest cover after, right? Now look, if the level of finance is increased, right, by 4.6 million, then that will have a direct impact on your PBIT. It means that your PBIT will be increased as well. If you want, you have 24.6 million finance in total, out of which right, out of which the equity finance before was 20 million, right? That's the equity finance now. The equity finance before was 20 million and 4.6 million is the new equity. So we can say it like old equity is 20 million and new equity is 4.6 million, right? Now with that 20 million, we had a PBIT of 12. With that 20 million, we had a PBIT of 12 million. Don't you think that this 4.6 million will also give you additional PBIT, right? That's what we need to find, right? That how much additional PBIT you can actually find out, right? And then that will be added to the PBIT over here. So then we'll have the new PBIT divided by the interest. And then again, that will be the new interest cover. Right? Your new interest cover. So the interest cover, which is PBIT divided by the interest, but the PBIT will be changed because now we have new finance. Right? Now we have the new finance. So it's going to change now. Right? So how much is that going to be? This is what we are going to find out. Now this will actually require you to follow a few steps, right? And that's actually the difficult bit in the question, right? So make sure that you are watching carefully, right? So we know that currently our profit for the year or profit after tax is 6 million, and this 6 million of profit after tax, we actually got it using 20 million equity, right? So what we can say here that current equity is 20 million, right? And then the current profit after tax is 6 million, right? Now, if we have the current equity and the current profit after tax, we can easily find out our return on equity, which is 6 divided by 20, and this will be 30%, right? So our return on equity is 30%. So it means that we actually get a return of 30% on equity. So we get return of 30% on equity, right? You don't have to write it down in the exam. It's just for your understanding. So now what we'll do is, using our new equity, right, which is 4.6 million, right? We will multiply that with return on equity, this 30%, and this will give us our additional profit after tax, the extra profit after tax. Remember, I'm calling it extra profit after tax because I'm not considering the whole equity. I'm just considering the additional equity of rights from the rights issue, right? So 4.6 million multiplied by 30% will be 1.38 million. So the extra profit after tax is 1.38 million. Now, the steps that we're going to follow, first of all, your extra okay, your extra PAT, profit after tax, we will change that into extra profit before tax, right? How are you going to do it? I mean, what's the difference of profit after tax and profit before tax, right? Tax, isn't it? So tax, with the tax adjustment, you can calculate your profit before tax. And from your profit before tax, we are going to add the interest, the extra interest. This will give you the extra PBIT. Now, remember that was our aim, the extra PBIT. We have the current PBIT, which is 12, using 20 million equity. But now, how much the additional equity finance is going to give us more PBIT? That's what we need to find out, right? Now, I'm going to do it on the paper first, and then I can actually help you. So the extra profit after tax, we said it is 1.38 million. right? Now, if you have to convert that into profit before tax, right? How do you do it, right? How do you do it? Now, profit after tax divided by 1 minus the tax rate will actually give you your profit before tax, right? So profit after tax divided by 1 minus the tax rate is equal to profit before tax, right? Now in this question, we are not even given the tax rate. So we have calculated our profit after tax over here, right? 1.38 million, but we don't have the tax rate. So if you have to calculate the tax rate, you can see here that the tax expenses are 3 on 9 million profit, right? So what is the percentage? 3 divided by 9, which means 33.33%, right? So it will be 1.38 million divided by 1 minus 33.33%, and that will be your profit before tax, right? The extra profit before tax, right? So this is step number 2 here, right? So what's the answer? 1.38 million divided by 1 minus 0.3333. This will give you 2.07 million. Right? Now, so this is done, and then we have calculated our extra profit before tax. And now we have to convert that into extra PBIT, right? So how much will be the extra PBIT? Well, that will be exactly the same amount. You know why? Because we have equity finance, and the equity finance will mean no additional interest. Well, the interest is because of debt finance, but this is equity finance. This 4.6 million finance is equity finance. As we have equity finance, therefore interest will not change. You know, the difference between PBT and PBIT is the interest. And if the interest is not changed, it means both of them are the same figures. So as we have equity finance, therefore interest will not change. Therefore, your PBT figure will be the same as PBIT figure, right? That's what we need to do, right? Now I'm going to do the same in Excel, right? So interest cover, which is PBIT divided by the interest. Again, you don't have to do it, but I'm just doing it for your understanding, right? We have to find out the PBIT and the interest. We know the interest is 3 million as per the question. Interest amount is 3 million as per the question. There, right? It's 3 million as per the question. This is not changing. The PBIT is 12, but now we're going to have the additional PBIT, right? So we have to find out the additional PBIT, and we have to do some working for this, right? So I'll do some working. I'll say additional PBIT, right? Additional PBIT. So step 1, we have to find out your return on equity, which is return is 6 million, the current return, and the current equity is 30 million, sorry, 20 million, right? So it's 30%, right? New equity is 4.6 million, right? 4.6 million is the new equity. So how much will be the extra profit after tax? It will be 4.6 million multiplied by 30%. It will be 1.38 million. Now step number 2. You have to convert the profit after tax into the profit before tax. So I'll say extra profit before tax And the profit before tax will be the extra profit after tax divided by 1 minus the tax rate, right? Now, if the tax rate is 33%, right, 1 minus the tax rate, you can also write 66.67%, or you can write 1 minus the tax rate. I would go for 66.67%, right? So this will be the profit before tax, right? Now again, you see, if you see like long figures like this, a lot of the students would like to round the figures, right? But I would say in your exam, you should not waste time on this because you're not getting any extra marks for this, right? Okay, so you have the extra profit before tax figure, and now you can calculate in step number 3 the extra PBIT figure, which will be exactly the same, right? Maybe you should have written down here that it's not changing because the interest is not changing, right? So this is the extra PBIT. Now I'll take you to the ratio above. So first of all, your existing PBIT as per the question is 12. So bracket 12 plus the new extra PBIT, right? The new extra PBIT. So I can just round it to 2.0698 or 2.07 if you wish, right? So 2.07. So that's your overall PBIT. So PBIT divided by the interest is still 3 million, right? So this will give you 4.69, right? It's the interest coverage. So of course the answer will be in number of times. So how much is the interest coverage before? It was 4 times. How much will be the interest coverage after equity finance rights issue? It will improve. It will increase by 4.69. So now you can pay 4.69 times interest from your PBIT, and before you were able to pay 4 times interest. But now, is it good? Well, it has improved, but it's still not acceptable because it's still much lower than the industry average, right? So what will be your comment? I would say that if I was you, I would say that with this new equity finance, our gearing has reduced and interest coverage has improved, but it's still not as good as the industry average. So maybe we would need more equity finance, or maybe we would need to reduce our debt finance further so that these two ratios can improve, right? So that was question Echo Beach. I think the most difficult calculation will be this one, right? So you just need to understand these steps, right? If you find a question like this in exam, right? Remember that the PBIT figure, if you want to achieve it, right, you have to see the path to achieve it, right? So you're not given anything else. You're not given any profit after tax. But yes, if you can find out the return on equity, you can find out the new extra profit after tax, which can be converted into profit before tax. And then after that, you can calculate your profit before interest and tax, right? That was question Echo Beach. I would like you guys to do it a couple of times. Thank you very much.